talking with you guys over the last couple of weeks about Omicron, the new COVID variant, trying to figure out whether or not it's going to be a big deal. The whole period right now has shades of February 2020. Obviously, we do have vaccines. We've learned a lot about the virus, which is good. So we go into this in a stronger position than before. We also go into it with a lot more debt, a lot more burnout among healthcare workers, and I also think just within our society, a lot more divisions. We're frustrated. So pros and cons, right? One of the things that's interesting, though, and here's a real peek into the glamorous life of the mainstream journalist. So on Sunday, I'm doing laundry. I'm folding laundry, got it all scattered on my bed upstairs, and I'm kind of throwing things into piles for each person. Then I'm going to do the laundry. But I had the BBC on because I know that the United Kingdom was going to be making some announcements live Sunday night their time. And Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, has been facing a ton of political challenges the last couple of weeks anyway. So I thought, just out of curiosity, I'd put it on. Part of that was just my interest in British politics. The other part of it, of course, is that the United Kingdom throughout this thing has typically been ahead of the curve from us. And what has happened to them generally has later happened to us. Not exactly, of course, but it gives us a sense of what our future is going to be. Anyway, so I popped on the Beeb and was watching Boris Johnson, who is announcing mostly an accelerated booster campaign and bringing in parts of the armed forces to help with that booster campaign. And again, all of this because of Omicron and the desire to do better and get ahead of this thing. And it kind of occurred to me, and as we've been talking about in recent videos here, look, I'm not wishing that we had the UK's pandemic response. I'm not saying I would trade our problems for theirs. But it was very interesting just to see the different tone. And again, Mr. Johnson has had a lot of political problems of late, not looking good for Bojo. So obviously coming out, giving a strong speech is politically good for him. But we in Canada, and I'll talk about my province in particular here. I know it's generally similar across the country here. We could really take on Omicron if it does end up being a serious problem. And I'm not convinced it will be, but if it does, think of all the tools we have at our disposal now that we did not have in early 2020. Right now in my house, I've got about a dozen rapid tests. They're sitting on a shelf about 30 feet away from me. Awesome. Would have loved to have had those in early 2020. I got a couple shots of Pfizer in me, and I'm going to be due for a booster soon. This is good news. Like, we can actually take this thing on. One of the things that just struck me as interesting, though, is that we in Canada, and again, speaking just particularly of Ontario, where I live, we have shots sitting in freezers that are going to start expiring soon if we don't use them. But we're not going to use them. I'm not going to qualify for a booster until late January. That will be, I think it's 168, 169 days after my second shot. And for me, that's not going to be mid to late January. I'd have to go check my my vaccine record to find out exactly when. Johnson comes out on Sunday and he goes, 3-month wait. If you're 3 months after your second booster here, go on and get them. There is a sense of urgency building overseas. And here in this country, we can't get the airport screened. We can't get rapid tests distributed unless they're in Nova Scotia, apparently. We can't get boosters sorted out. I don't know if Omicron is going to be a big deal or not. I honestly don't. I could make an optimistic case. I can make a pessimistic case. But what I can tell you with certainty is that 21 months into this thing, we still have no sense of urgency in our government here. And anytime they talk like they have a sense of urgency, they're just putting on a show for the cameras.